Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Brainwashed to be Broke series. Today we are back in front of the camera talking to another amazing person and having so much fun already from the beginning. We've been talking a little bit about his background and what he was going through during his life. And this guy is gonna bring so much value in here because he's got like really wide experience in business, but also in mindset and so on. Like he was starting businesses. um he was how many years you've been doing business already?
My first business I started 41 years ago.
41 years ago. That's
I was seven,
insane.
giving away
Yeah.
my.
Yeah, so a real long time ago, and literally he's been through, when it comes to brick and mortar businesses, also like online businesses, and that led him into mindset and like helping people to realize how the world is basically designed to set you basically to be a good worker and so on. So we're gonna be really talking about deep stuff in here, and I'm super pumped to have him here. So welcome to the show, Glen Ledwell. What's up, brother?
Great. Glad to be here, Adam.
Awesome. Thank you so much to for being here. It's really a pleasure to have you. And we had amazing conversation already before. Your journey is really inspiring, and I'm super pumped to dive deep into that. So for those people who don't know you and so on, like, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and how did you get into entrepreneurship, and even you can go even like, how it actually looked like for you when you actually, when you've been kid and starting like the entrepreneurship spirit started kicking on to your, kicking into actually your life and like how it all transformed your life.
Yeah, I think, as I was saying before, yeah, I didn't realize, I didn't know what entrepreneur meant when I was younger. But I was an entrepreneur from when I was literally 5 years old. I was used to hustle kids for football cards and marbles in school. I mean, it was basically an opportunity seeker, which is pretty funny. But the first real business I started, I was an apprentice at the time, and anyway, long story short, I started an actual plumbing contractor business that morphed into a building business. And through those years, I got out of that after about 9 years. That was too hard, and I got into everything like investment stuff, all kinds of marketing, like direct response marketing. That kind of led me into nightclubs. Believe it or not, I owned a nightclub for 5 years. I had an events company. I used to run big parties. I started an alcohol distribution company. I started the very first bathroom advertising company in Australia. No one had ever heard of that back then. Then fast forward from there, I got back into property development, into construction after I sold the nightclub. I was in that for a few years. Why I did that, I started three coffee franchises because the coffee industry was blowing up in Sydney at the time. And so I had started that. Now, while I had that, we're talking like mid 2000s now. While we had that, I discovered this online world, and I started my first online company in '07. That's a personal development company called Mind Movies. We've been around all that time. We've literally helped millions and millions and millions of people. And my journey from there really got more into the marketing business because that was an online marketing company. And I realized I lended to that quite well. I mean, I wasn't experienced in that industry, but obviously from what I just said, did have quite a bit of business experience. So about 5 or 6 years of running that company, I started a high-end digital marketing mastermind called Flight Club, which I've had for 12 years now. A few years later, which is only a few years ago now, actually, I started another mastermind called Speakeasy Mastermind. And that's where we locally meet up in multiple cities for a few hours. It's a very, very personal thing, but we're connected to a whole global network. 26 cities so far and building every day. And then the fourth company that I have is a lead generation company, AI based, obviously, but it's very personalized, very direct, very targeted. But basically, it's specifically for B2B, business to business, people that sell medium to high ticket. That's in a nutshell what I've been doing. A lot of turns along the way, but yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like this is, this is incredible journey. And when it comes to, those experiences that you collected along the way, and you basically become being one of those pioneers when it comes to literally starting online businesses, because like that's when during that time when even internet being developed and all of that, like and start actually booming, that's really interesting. So let's go back into your beginning of your of that journey and like building businesses and so on. How did life look like then for you when it comes to the personal development? Like, have you been already like kind of have you felt or experienced that you've been always different than other people, that you've been always looking for different like opportunities and so on, or how that was for you at the beginning?
Yeah, I think that's very true with any entrepreneurs. You can become an entrepreneur, but when you're born an entrepreneur, whether you realize it or not, now looking back, no, definitely I was that way. Didn't know that.
Mhm.
It's interesting. When I was young, like I said, I only had one job, and I was so cocky, arrogant, really. I believed, whether it was true or not, I'm smarter than these people I'm working for. And it was so hilarious to me. I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to have to work for myself
Mhm.
because I can't work for anyone. I can't be told what to do. Like I was self-aware enough to know that, but I thought it was a disadvantage. Oh,
Mhm.
well, I'm just going to have to work for myself. Of course, years later, in hindsight, I'm like, oh, how lucky am I? I was like that. I couldn't be told anything. I couldn't be told what to do. Maybe I was smarter than some of the people I work for. I don't really know. But yeah, definitely looked at things differently. And what I realized years later, when I really got into personal development, I wasn't always into personal development. I got into it
Mhm.
probably around 2000. Tony Robbins went to a Tony Robbins event. A lot of people do that, and really realized a little bit, oh, okay, this mindset stuff. But further on in the journey, and when we started our company, I realized that, again, talking about the difference, I realized that a lot of the things that we
Mhm.
still teach today were intuitive to me. I don't know why. Maybe, well, I guess I do. From my parents were pretty positive, and I guess that was the difference. But I understood that, no fail, keep going.
Mhm.
No matter what, don't stop, don't give up, don't procrastinate. All these things that the most common killers in business, right?
Mhm.
I somehow didn't have that. Maybe again, maybe it's the
Ooh,
arrogance. Maybe
okay.
it's like can't fail. Can't fail. Can't let anyone see me fail, and so never give up. Which is very very rare. Now that didn't
Mhm.
always serve me. I've always very much been a ready, fire, aim person.
Mhm. Mhm.
Just do it. Quick start.
Mhm.
Now make decisions quickly. I never procrastinate.
Mhm.
Now, generally, that's a good thing,
Yep.
but
Yep.
it's not always. Obviously, you never want to procrastinate,
Yep.
but I make decisions. Some big decisions I've made have been too quick. Maybe I should
Mhm.
have thought about it a bit. But majority of my life, that has served me.
Mhm.
You know, I just have it in me, which I think is different. I can't sit in a procrastination, which most people sit in procrastination all the time, which is the worst thing you could possibly deal with. If you ever want to be successful, ever want to start a business, ever want to scale a business, you procrastinate, you're dead. So that was always a good thing, but I don't do it. But like I said, it's thinking about things a little bit more uncomfortably probably would have served me sometimes too.
Yeah.
Like big investment opportunities and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, do it or not do it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really interesting and powerful topic to even like talk about, right? Because when it comes to procrastination and all of that personal development, when we are talking about like all of those topics that you know in your words, how would you even explain what is personal development? Because I think that one thing, like on when it there is so many gurus talking about personal development and so on, like, but like what it is actually about. Are there some pieces that you have to like stack on top of each other, or like what it is as a whole?
Right. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of broad. I can tell you in our example, but basically, personal development, self-help is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Personal development, right?
Mm-hmm.
Self-help. What does that mean? It's all mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because of all the programming, like, I know you talk about brainwashing. We're brainwashed from before we can even speak
Mm-hmm.
in society and our parents, and they don't mean it, but this negativity, money doesn't grow on trees. Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone's heard their parents say that. It's the
Yep.
most scarcity mind thing that basically is the reason 85% of Westerners have a limiting belief around money.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's disgraceful, but it's a fact. Why? Because society teaches us lack, especially
Mm-hmm.
with money, you know. So I think what I call personal development, what we've always done, it's thinking more positively, being aware of negative beliefs, being aware of what maybe you're not good at, being able to brush them off, being able to, go, oh, I need to better myself. I'm going to go look for some tools to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Our company particularly was all law of attraction based, right? Which basically means you think positive, you visualize, we have all tools to do that. You tie emotion and like attracts like, you can attract that to your life. That's the basis of what we do. When you're thinking something negatively or say something negative, catch yourself and change it. And those patterns, little patterns like that can make the biggest difference in the world. And does that answer your question? That whole, I mean,
Yeah.
we could go into for hours about all the different components.
100%. Because I'm trying to help, like trying to, bring in this conversation something that people like some steps that people can take to and be acknowledge what actually like what steps they should take or what
Yep.
should be focusing on in personal development so they can attract money, right? They can actually attract opportunities and so on. So what would you focus on when it comes to personal development? What it is actually like, what are the
Okay.
pieces to focus on and so on?
Yep. Well, fundamentally, I'm just going to give you a few things. And if anyone does one of these, they'll see a change. If they do them all, they'll really, really see a change. Things like very, very simple to do. Be grateful. You would have heard this. Gratitude is one of the best things you can do. But what do you mean? It's hard to be grateful when you're in a shitstorm, a bad situation, you're feeling really down. There's always things to be grateful for, though, no matter what. It might be the sun shining outside. It might be I'm alive, I'm healthy. It might be, I have a roof over my head. It might be I've got enough food to eat. Like there's a million things, right? Um, but being grateful every day, and a technique we've been teaching for years, is before you go to bed, write down three things you're grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next night, three different things. And the next night, three different things. And what happens is within 30 days, you realize as you're writing more, because you can't write the same thing, right? You find yourself during the day looking for things to be grateful for because you've got to write three new things down that night.
Mm-hmm.
That is an incredibly powerful thing to do. That's one thing. Doing, just like I said earlier, you catch yourself talking negatively. Wake up, oh, I knew today was going to be a shitty day. With that attitude, it's going to be a shitty day, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wake up, you kick your toe. Oh, I knew it. Day's going to be terrible. Like, stop doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Catch yourself, stop doing it. Like I literally for years, I would train myself. I'd think a negative thought, which we can't stop it. But even more important, you got to remember words are things. You have a thought, it's in your brain, your subconscious. You say it out loud, it's embedded in your subconscious. And
Mm-hmm.
the problem is when you embed things in your subconscious, what's your subconscious's job? It's to make you right.
Mm-hmm.
Subconscious isn't going to make you wrong. It's going to make you right. So life's shit. It's going to be a shit day. I feel terrible. I'm low. Oh, program. So these fundamental things like creating vision boards, creating a mind movie like one of our tools, anything at all, just try to think on a positive level rather
Mm-hmm.
than negative. You catch yourself saying something, negative or judgmental, right? We all do
Mm-hmm.
it. Just catch yourself and change it. I mean, probably if you're in a crowd, you don't want to say it too loud, but you know, but at least catch yourself in your mind. That's a really, really
Yeah.
Good tool too. Another great one, and I did this with my wife for years when we were doing okay, but we were nowhere near where we wanted to be. This is 20 years ago. So we used to every morning, we'd always go for a walk along the beach, and we used to do what we call a dream discussion. And
Uh,
we would,
mhm.
in present tense, discuss what our life is like, whether it's in 2 years, 5 years, whatever, but our vision for our life we would discuss in present tense. Isn't it amazing that now we live in that beautiful apartment and have that beautiful car and our businesses on automation? And isn't it amazing we get to travel all the time and fly first class? Whatever your thing is, right? And do those dream discussions. And that,
Mm,
again, it puts you in that vibration. If you understand the way the universe works and quantum physics,
mhm.
you put positive energy, which what your brain's the most powerful thing. Put positive energy out into the world, like attracts like. This isn't woo-woo. This is science. That's
Yeah.
just how it works. You know, that's why, people, you start thinking positive and visualizing and, hoping that things start to show up. You're like, what? It still
Mhm.
surprises me how
Mhm.
that works,
Yep.
but it works. It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
You know,
It does
don't think,
100%.
oh, I'm going to think about something once and it's just going to appear. No, that's not how it works.
Hmm.
It's got to be a pattern, you
Yep.
know? Yeah. There's a few little fundamentals anyway.
Awesome. Would you also would you also recommend to like people to be aware of what they are consuming when it comes to, like social media and like reading, for example, like, or even like being aware of, when it comes to watching news and TV, this is like one of the biggest brainwashing mechanism that is happening there, basically, right? Straight there. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I stopped watching all television, media, newspapers, radio 20 years ago. Now, when did I have the most success in my entire life? 19, 18 years ago.
Hmm.
Was that because of that? Don't know. Was it contributing fact? Absolutely. Because this is what I learned back then. If I kind of couldn't recommend it highly enough, Tim Ferriss wrote a book called 4 Hour Work Week,
Yep.
and it was incredible. I read it at the time, and he basically challenges you in the book. He challenges you
Hmm.
to cut yourself off from media for 30 days, and it's a whole thing. But anyway, but basically, I'm like, okay. And he goes, look, I know what you're thinking. And he speaks to you like, I know what you're thinking. Oh, I've got to be informed. What am I going to talk about with friends? And he combats all of that, right? And the end of it, he goes, look, do it my way for 30 days. And if something happens and you're like, oh my God, I missed out on something, he goes, go back to your old ways. Of
Hmm.
course it doesn't. Nothing happens. You hear about anything important, right? But that is a fundamental, I can't even stress this enough. This is life changing.
Hmm.
And don't think the apps on your phone and all that don't count. It all counts. No media. Because honestly, probably the people listening are smart enough to know it is all some version of bullshit. And even if there's truth, it's exaggerated if it suits the medium. What does that mean? It means people will click on it. But most of it's just negative.
Hmm.
Why? Because us as human beings love chaos, love negativity. You know why? Because we want to feel, we don't think this consciously, if everything else is shit, our life is less shit. That is truly the way we think. That's why there's no such thing as positive news, right? There's a disaster, right? A disaster.
Always. Yeah, that's
People
crazy,
watch
right?
it every single day and they tell themselves, I feel so bad for these people. Yeah, I feel really bad for them too. It doesn't help them you watching it every day. Send us some money, right? Help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't you? But people don't realize that's what they do. They get into the disaster. Poor people, because it makes them feel better about themselves. That's why media is the way it is. It's never going to be any different. It's disgusting what they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
They literally think of something or take something out of context, make up a better headline, and it's terrible. When you
Yeah.
really look at it, all you got to do is look at the different mediums, right? Like, the left wing and the right wing, right? A CNN and a Fox News. The same topic. They talk about completely differently to suit their exaggerated,
Mhm.
negative medium of their listeners. Not accurate. You know,
Yeah.
they don't care if it's accurate. They see news as entertainment. It's not, it's truly, that's how they look at it. They don't look at it as news. And people go, oh, I don't do that. I watch social media. I'm here to tell you I made that mistake too. All the sensationalized shit's on social media too. So
Yeah.
you've got to be careful of that too. You've got to be careful,
Yeah,
you know.
it's very different if you are the producer actually and producing content and like building audience. That's different, right?
Yeah,
But it's
totally.
really easy to actually slip on the other side also and become the consumer, right? But on top of that, what you just said, I heard of the in news there is like 80% of the news that are actually like promoted, like 80% of them is unchecked facts that literally somebody made up and they didn't even like really
That's right. That's
just
right.
because they had to fill the space between
Yep.
the commerce, because like the what is the purpose of actually TV and all of that is like it's literally commerce platform, right?
Yep.
And they
Yep.
bringing people there to watch the movies, watch the shows and everything like that, so they can promote those, like when you get the break, basically the commerce break. That's basically what how they make money, right, on there.
Yep, clickbait we call it. That's the
Yeah.
thing. They take a news thing. They don't think, how am I going to present this the most accurate way? That's not even a thought. It's how do we spin this to suit our narrative of our listeners, which is always bad,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
always negative. It's always sensationalized at a minimum, or straight out, just absolute lies. They don't care, you know? So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's. I mean, I'm living proof of it.
Yeah.
You don't understand how much better your life is when you're not being bombarded, and when you get out of it. Like I was out of it for a couple of years, and I remember one time, like I turned on a radio. It was like a talkback radio show I used to listen to, and I started getting all. It was some political rubbish that was going on, and I started getting all right up. And my wife goes, "Turn it off!" Like, and I realized, like, oh my god, is that how I used to react? But just internalize it, being angry and pissed off or depressed or from what I was listening to, putting into my brain on purpose, thinking I got to be informed. And this is what I say to people. The most informed you can be is to watch zero media,
Hmm.
because then you're objective. You'll hear something from whatever. You can be more objective, right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty powerful. I love it. When it comes to, this is a huge, this is a beast literally on its own, this stuff. And most of the people are literally stuck there, don't even realizing how crazy it is, and how important it is to like literally get rid of it. I did it like 5 or 6 years ago, or maybe even 7 years ago. I'm not watching TV. I don't even own TV. I don't want to have it. The only thing that I do is like reading books, listening podcasts, listening. Of course, I read listening, and watching YouTube sometimes, like when I'm figuring stuff out, because like that's how tos and so on. But I'm really conscious on what I do, like what I'm actually consuming, because I want to get into my brain only things that matters, and push me forward to wherever I want to go, right? Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and YouTube's good, like, because it's, most of it's self, but you still, it's like the way I always think of it, like, because on social media, you can't tell. You think, oh, this is an independent person or whatever. And sometimes you don't realize unless you're aware and you're like, even if they're along I use politics as it's easy, your view more than the other view, right?
yeah.
Even if it's that, yeah, oh, yeah, but then you got to go, hang on a minute. Is this just all one sided, even if it's your way or the other way, right? And you're like, hang on a minute. Oh, now I'm in an information, but we're all in an information bubble, no matter what, political interests, whatever, right? You got to be aware you're in an information bubble, because people don't believe that. They go, oh, no, I'm subjective. No, everything you hear is a narrative that you've shown the world that you are interested in. So it pushes that down your throat. So you're the one got to go, whether you agree with it or not. Hang on a minute. That doesn't sound logical, feasible, So that's, even though independent is much better, but you still got to be aware of
Yeah.
that. I've found myself in that a couple of times, and I'm like, hang on a minute, this is bullshit. Just because I agree with it doesn't mean it's not bullshit, right? Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know if like what you experienced when you've been, in your young age and literally like you've been going to schools and so on. Have you, how did you, how was your like schooling age when when you've been studying? Did you, have you go through college
Oh,
or
no,
like, no, you
no,
haven't finished college? No.
no, I'm the
Okay.
average entrepreneur.
Yeah. But,
No,
no,
I left school when I was 15.
right, right.
I finished at the time in Australia, there was, to 10th grade, you could leave with what they call it's like a graduating
Mhm.
high school. Then you could do the other 2 years was a different thing, right?
Yep.
So you could leave. It wasn't dropping out or anything. You'd leave at that year 10. Well, I was young for my age, so I wasn't even quite 16 when I left school, and I was not quite 16 when I started work. So yeah, I was
I
never going to be.
think, but that was the advantage for like
It
advantage, not
was.
advantage. Like you,
No, it
you, you
was.
made it
No, it
in your
was.
advantage, and I think you did really good step just because of maybe you didn't even realize it, but like how the system, schooling system, and it's never, it's not been updated since then. It's literally like this is the biggest programming mechanism that's happening like to people, to kids, where are they most vulnerable, right? And then like they ending up with huge debt after finishing college, with students loads crazy, like how high it is. And like we have the it's crazy how the population is so damn about money in these days. I had
Yeah.
to teach my parents about money, how money works, and like because I'm just interested naturally in studying those type of things, but they wouldn't ever look at it, and they don't even care right now. Like I have this conversation with them, but they maybe get it, but they don't really care about it because that's how they set it up since the young age, and they just seeing it, this is the normal way. So we're gonna be just working until we're gonna be 60, maybe 70, I don't know, because it's literally like they are changing it all the time. The pension is not as it was before, so nobody is like guaranteeing anything, and like the money, they are printing money all the time, so it's like the whole debt stuff is like it's crazy, right? And people think that this is the secure path of living, which is insane, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I mean, you've probably heard this, but like the reason this is the system was invented back in the early 1900s. It was a industrial revolution age, right? We needed way more factory workers. That's what we needed. We didn't need anything else, right? So the factory workers, so they designed school curriculum for that. And then, of course, that morphed into office workers, task doers, not
Mm-hmm.
free thinkers. We don't need that. But the ridiculous part is they never changed it.
Mm-hmm.
So still today, our schooling system is for task doers. You know, we don't want leaders. We don't, and we're just lucky that some of us come to the top and go, oh, I'm not going to do this. But that's why it's much more rare. And then get to college, same thing. I mean, like you said, like to say I think it's an advantage that I left school in. I was a man by the time I was 18. I was really a man by the time I was 21. Most kids are still in college. And I remember I first came to America in 1989. I was 21 years. I was a man. I'd been working for 5 years. I owned things. And I'm here. And don't get me wrong, I loved it here. But the kids my age were like children, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Now, okay, they got a bit better education, but I didn't realize at the time. But now looking back, I'm like, man, and especially now,
Yep.
you can learn anything college to, unless we're talking about a doctorate or, a lawyer or something, but even that now, right? But most things you can learn way better for a fraction of the cost online or through a course or through a curriculum. It's an absolute waste of time and money,
Yeah.
you know.
100%. 100%.
Especially here in the US. It's unbelievable here.
In
So
UK, it's
people
the
still
same.
think they need a degree. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I've been in business all these years. I've employed hundreds and hundreds of people. I've never asked, do you have a college degree? I don't care. Whatever
Yeah.
job it is, I want to know who you are, what experience you've had. What do I care if you went to college way back when you were a freaking teenager? There's no-
Yeah.
You know, like,
Like
unless it's
if you,
something it's a
yeah,
you know, accountant or lawyer, or,
yeah.
not something you actually need that for.
If you will
Yeah.
think about it, right? If you will think about it, like if you would finish school at 15 and you are still basically, you can you still live with your parents, for example, and so on. This is the best time when to start gaining practice because you have no other responsibilities. But like when you have 18 and so on, like you become an adult, like with with the paper and everything like that, you basically finish the school. You cannot like literally be, you probably want to even like, start living your life and so on, like already, because you are like, that's the age that people and parents pushing you away, kind of a little bit, at least it was in my situation. It would be, if that the system would be designed, I think it would be like, and lead people to actually like start finding themselves actually by doing things, not just learning, because like most of the things that we are teaching, like we are, studying in the school and so on, are literally just about like the um, just the information, is not really practice or anything like that. Then like how you can acquire a job, or properly paid job, when you have nothing pretty much than just a, some type of diploma or whatever. Like that's insanity, right? Like I remember that even like my classmates, that they went to college and so on. In my country, we don't have any type of the college loans and so on. Like there is nothing like that yet. So
Hmm.
I think it's gonna come either way, because like that's how it's all, where and wherever it is, it's designed. But they had to, even though like when they finished the graduation basically and get the diploma, they still had to start where those people who even like who basically finished their high school, they had to like start in the same spot, even though they had like so many more, education and so on, because they didn't even get more paid. They still start with the same, with the same amount of money per hour, right? Which is like, I was like, why you've been studying it for 6 years? Maybe like like with your career, maybe it's like in the future, maybe you can gain, like you can grow into something, higher paid. But this is like, I don't really, yeah, I never been this way. And yeah, anyway, um yeah, it's very interesting. Why is that way? Like, why is it this way? Because like the practice is actually the most important, even though um in any area, like the skills that you develop along the way and building, yeah. So when it comes to um your expertise and your area of expertise, what you can see that people struggling the most when it comes to mindset and like those false beliefs and limiting beliefs, yeah, in your area of expertise.
In regards to business or just
Yeah,
life?
regards to business, or yeah, pretty much regards to business, let's say about that. Yeah.
In regards to business and life, really, like I said, I mentioned earlier about the people, most people have a limiting belief around money, some worse than others. This isn't a judgment, it just is what it is, right? You've got to be very aware of that in business, that that's who you're generally dealing with. You've got to understand that. So that is a big challenge because people come from a scarce mindset. So it's very hard to build a business where you've got to really be abundant. You've got to take risks if you come from a scarce lack.
Hmm.
And we all know people, right? I know people that've been in business all their lives and they're still not very successful. Why? When you get to know them a little bit better, they're really cheap,
Hmm.
real like cheap and, frugal, like more than frugal. Like you're
Yep.
not frugal. Frugal can be a good thing, right? But yeah, really, really cheap and scarcity minded. So
Hmm.
they don't have the capacity to be abundant and give and be open, right? Take risks. They don't have the capacity to do that. That'd be the biggest thing, I would say,
Hmm.
that one thing
Hmm.
that most people struggle with. And the next thing, again, that I said earlier, it's procrastinating.
Hmm.
It's a scarce mindset around money is probably not even as bad as if you're a big procrastinator. And if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I'm a procrastinator, all I can say is you got to really try to stop it. You
Hmm.
can't just change who you are, but catch yourself. Catch yourself in that indecision. Make yourself make a decision, because I tell you now, if you're a procrastinator, you will never build a business.
Mm-hmm.
Never, ever, ever build a business. You probably won't even start. I'll tell you what you'll do. You'll have 5 or 10 great ideas, and you'll be, worrying about which one you should do. We've all been there, right? So say you got 5 ideas. This is what I say to that person. And I've coached a lot of people on this. I go, pick the worst idea that you think out of the 5. What? No. All right, pick the best one then. Just pick one. Pick one right now, right? Just pick one. Start. Take that first step, and that's the hardest thing. But when you take the first step and you have a go, it's easier to take another step. It's the frozen in indecision. No forward momentum is what happens. So what happens out of the 5 ideas? Say you ended up on the worst one. At least you learn. Okay, you made a few mistakes. You'll learn that quickly, and then you'll start with another one, and you've learned something. Okay, I know not to do that and that now. Does this make sense? Like, none of us get successful without failing.
Yep.
And people really get caught up on failing. And I've always told myself, fail more, fail quicker, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll succeed slowly. There's no quick success. That doesn't exist. So rich, quick, forget it. It doesn't exist. But you can fail quickly if you're in forward momentum. You're not procrastinating. Fail fast, succeed slow. Learn. I mean, there's no one that gets anywhere to a certain level of success that hasn't completely gone under nearly at least once, that hasn't made a ton of mistakes that learn from them. But that's the thing. You know this. Any entrepreneur? You make more mistakes than you do successes, but you only need a couple of good successes, right?
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You learn so much along the way, and you don't realize even while you're doing it, until I realized it when I got into the online world, and realized all those years led me to be a really good marketing person. I didn't know I was a marketing person because I was in the trenches running the businesses, doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out I was pretty good at marketing, but I wasn't even aware of it. So it wasn't until I was like 40s. I'm like, oh my God, the lessons I learned there about human behavior, the lessons I learned there about psychology, lessons I learned there about what not to do and what to do, But if you can be aware of that earlier on, you'll succeed much faster. Don't be scared to fail. That's the thing. Welcome the failures. I know that sounds weird. I don't say I'll set out to fail. But when you fail, brush it off. Okay, I screwed up. Got it. Won't do that again. Move. Screwed up. Okay, I won't do that again. Keeping going is as important as starting. Because if you start and then don't keep going, you may as well not start.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you procrastinators out there, don't use it as an excuse. Oh, I might move. No, take the first step. It's the most paramount thing.
100%. When you mentioned failing, where did it come from? Like being scared of failing?
It's ego. It's all ego. Nobody wants to fail. And what I identified with myself early on, I don't know if I identified myself or a friend told me, because I'm like, what is it? And it's like, said, you're scared for people to see you fail. And I'm like, it's hard to think about that yourself, right? And I, you know what? I really dug in. I'm like, you know what? That's true. That's just pure ego. It wasn't the failing. It was people seeing me fail. No, I can't be seen as a failure, right? It's insecurity. It's ego, right? So just get past that. And this is the other thing, apart from those fundamental things, what's the next most important thing, which is why for 15 years I've run masterminds. I have 2 very, very successful masterminds now in kind of a little bit different areas. Why? Because I realized many years ago, 18 years ago, that being around like-minded people, we've all heard this a million times. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time. We've all heard it. It's a cliche. You know why it's a cliche? Because it's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
You absolutely have to be around the right people. So getting back to, I don't want to fail. I'm a procrastinator. I want to get started. I'm not sure what to do. If you're around like-minded people and And let's be honest, sometimes our families are the worst. But they don't mean to be. You got to be realistic. What if you fail? I remember someone said that to me early on. What if it doesn't work out? And I was fascinated. I went,
Yeah.
well, if it doesn't work out, I'll do something else. And you should have seen his eyes. Career employee, didn't like, what? Well, if it doesn't work out, I'll do something else. He couldn't get his head around it. And to me, it was, I don't understand why you're asking me that. But I didn't realize how rare that was back then, that I had that thought process. But I did. Somehow I did. It's not an option to what? Fail. No. I mean, you just have to keep going until you succeed or you get something. But yeah, again, being around, like, you got to be, be around something, go to events. If you can be in a mastermind of any level, be in a mastermind. Try and do the speakeasy mastermind we do. It's a local, like, we started it just getting people together, meeting up for dinner once a month. Why? To have consistent, and I'll give you the whole reason around masterminds and being around not just like-minded people. But the thing is, you might even have good, positive friends. And I'll sidebar. If you've got friends that are negative, obviously you'll find a lot of time it's your family. They don't mean it. You got to remember this. And this sounds really bad, but it's absolutely true. I've studied a lot with human behavior. People around you that see you succeed, most people, my culture's way worse. Americans are a lot better at this. They see you succeed and you're like, I can help you. Why don't you listen to me? And you can tell they act like they're happy for you. But yeah, I don't know if they are, right? And you know what it is? It's not that you're more successful than them and you're happier than them. It's you make them feel shit about their own life. You don't make them, they choose it. But watching your success, but it's not enough for them to get out of their own way. So what do? They think yeah, well, you can do that, but I can't do that. And they make all the excuses, right? That's what people fundamentally are like. Again, it's like watching the disaster makes them feel better. You being better than them in their mind makes them feel bad, right? So again, if you've got negative people in your life, I know it's hard to just cut ties. I was doing this from when I was in my 20s. I don't know how I knew to do this. I used to feel it like an energy sucker. I'll get like a chain around your neck, like sucking your energy. I used to say, like, people, and I'd limit my time with them. And, I had friends for many, many years. I'd just limit my time with them. Because when you become more aware and you're around positive people all the time, when you're around normal people, it's like, whoa. They're like, oh, geez, isn't the day's terrible? Oh, this happened. Just complain. They don't realize that's what they do. And what are you doing with those people? You get on board because you want to be likable and you engage in there. Well, I don't, but that's what people do. So I encourage you, if you've got those people around, limit your time and eventually get new friends, right? Yeah. And from a business perspective, where the mastermind thing comes in, yes, have positive friends that are doing better than you is obviously even better, right? You don't want to be the smartest person in your group or the most successful.
Yeah, always.
If you are, find another group.
Yeah, looking right? Always like, if I would be in the room, I would love to, like, in some of those masterminds, I would be looking for masterminds where I would be the dumbest there, probably, because I want to grow.
No, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And then it makes you step up and learn more. But the other thing I was getting to with there, around the right people, but why you want to be in some kind of a business thing is because, you might have smart friends. We can all relate to this, I'm sure. You go out for dinner, two of them are in your world of business. Maybe their partners aren't or other friends aren't. It's awkward to talk about business. It's kind of rude. So I say, when you're in a little group of any kind, permission to talk business. It's deliberate. So you get together. You're not there to talk about your marriage and your family or whatever. They're there to talk about business. Let's talk about challenges in business. Let's help each other. And with those two combined, if you are a bit of a procrastinator, you're worried about failing, those people will prop you up. The others won't. The others will go, you're right, you probably shouldn't do it. Look, what are you going to do if it fails? Probably better. Be reasonable. Be realistic. That's the one I love.
Yeah.
Be realistic. I want to kill you now. Realistic. Not realistic. Am I realistic? My realistic is shooting for the stars,
Yeah.
right? When you hear some way you got to be realistic, run from them.
That's
Run.
true. Oh my God. I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. 100%. Well, I have last question for you when it comes to, okay, so I have a few things that I actually dealing with when it comes to my family. Um, how do you, in your, with your experience and so on, like, how do you deal with small talks and like talking about this type of bullshit that I don't freaking care, and I love to talk most of the time about business and how to grow and like personal level, like all of those things. I'm like all the time I'm looking for people who I can talk to, and that's why we have like a group of people and my friends, and we are talking about it all the time. But like when it comes to my parents, and for example when we are visiting them and they are just asking me those type of things, or friends, or like family members, it's just draining me completely. I cannot be in that room at all. But it's pretty rude because, like, when you are with your parents or family, it's like it's still your family, right? How do you deal with it?
It's exactly what I said before. I said family, friends, your surroundings. You got to limit your time. You got to limit your time. And look, the thing is, you can try. We all try with friends and family. You try to tell them what you've got going on, and you're being positive. You can't convince anyone to do anything. They just
No,
won't.
no.
You can't help them. You can't do anything. So you can try, but I think what you're saying is there's no point. They're
No.
just going to keep with their what we think is rubbish. To them, it's not. To them, it's interesting. But you, it's
Yep.
like, oh my God. So if that's what you got to do with your family, make sure there's no one else.
Yep.
You can't get rid of your family, right? But even your close friends, if you've got close friends like that, limit your time. And eventually you need to get away from them. I don't know how else to say it. You need to get away from them. You need to surround yourself. If everyone around you isn't like that and it's only your family, whatever. You can deal with it however often you see your family.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think most people deal with that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Limit the time,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's what I did. Like limited the time as much as I can, pretty much. Like I still have my family, I still have to be in contact with them, like
Of
I have a
course you
brother
do.
and so on. Like that's normal, right? But I don't pretty have any of my friends like those, from those past years. Um, I think I did it, even like without realizing it. When I moved to the different country, to England, I left everything behind. I moved here by myself, so it's like literally that was the big brainwashing time that started like happening when I start just observing things completely from different perspective, and been listening everything like positive thinking, like Tony Robbins, Myron
Mhm.
Golden, and people like Russell Bronson, and like those people like who and that completely changed my life completely, like from ground zero. Um, yeah.
Cool.
So yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
No worries.
Before I let you go, also there is a last question that I always asking: what is your goal? Where you get, like, where are you heading now with your business, with your vision? Yeah.
My goal is, continue to build the communities, like I said, because everything I've talked about is what I'm passionate about. So my masterminds, building my masterminds. But honestly, I turned 58 in a few weeks. And,
58,
between
you
us,
said?
I'm not going to be building companies, in a few more years.
You said
So I'm
50,
kind of,
58, did you say?
yeah, I turned
58.
58 in
Oh, you don't look for
3
58,
weeks.
actually. No, you're really, yeah, you're
No, two
looking
weeks.
better.
Two
Yeah.
weeks from now. But yeah, so my point is, so it's a little different than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's different. So, but I am very committed to doing what I'm doing and building the businesses I am building because it's what I really love to do. I call it a semi-retirement. Um, but yeah, I'm not. I probably all I'll be doing is my masterminds, in
Mhm.
another couple of years. So that's
That's
kind of.
awesome.
I feel like I've made my mark in the personal development world. I'm very happy with that. We've helped tens of millions of people, but I'm more set now on helping entrepreneurs
That's
because I
awesome.
feel
Yeah.
it's the way to really make change more than anything.
Oh,
Entrepreneurs
100%.
make change.
I thought that this is just only me, but what I thinking about when I'm thinking about entrepreneurship, like, and the normal way, like, I believe that the only entrepreneurs can change the world.
Yep.
Because like if you think about it, like everything what we have around ourselves, how how we live, what you know technology we use or anything, like it was developed by entrepreneur, right? There is
Yep.
nobody else who did that. So,
Yep.
and I think so literally the future is in our hands. And yeah, I would love to also, for sure, like that's the biggest goal for me, be able to take care of my family. That's one thing, but also like change the world, help the people, be able to just support people who can't, and so on. So I for sure there's gonna be some donations, so on, that I'm gonna be doing also. And yeah, there's a big things that I'm planning on that. And like even this podcast is like designed that way, right? Like helping people to realize what is going on and bring more of those um you know differently minded people. Yeah, help them to see the way that people are actually, what are people capable of, and so on. So yeah, I really appreciate you being here and sharing the knowledge with us. It was a pleasure to meet you, and it was a pleasure to have you here. And yeah, um for everybody who's listening, we'll see you in the next episode. So thank you for now,
Thanks,
and
Adam. Ciao.
bye now.